All right. I want to see some crazy stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, we're loaded in on the bottom left of Golden Pillars of Gold, excuse me. We've got our Blue Pro Last player. He is ShoWTimE.
Big ShoWTimE, literally. And in the top right-hand side, it is quite possibly the best player in the world. It is Serral. Team Ensa, of course.
Yeah, we got that very early probe out to block the natural, but Serral going for that pool first. He's not going to be committing too much trying to deal with that. And you know,
actually, see, did he drop the pool before or after?
I was going to say, I think he dropped the pool before. I think he dropped the pool before.
Yeah, look at Serral. He's waiting with the drone for the probe to show up at his main, and then just goes and take his natural. That's very well done.
That's a confident play right there. I wanted to ask you, Cats, because I think you know, when I think of smarter Zerg players that kind of think about a lot of stuff, I think of you. And I know one of the things people like to meme about Serral is that, you know, his pictures when he's out, the pictures of all like the hunting or out golfing and all of that. And I've in my conversations with him in 2018, I got to chat with him a bit about like what he did in his practice and stuff. And one of the things that he told me was that he tries to make sure to like actually still make time to have variety in his life outside of his job stuff. And he thinks that had like it helps him be more clear-minded when he's playing and practicing. And I just wanted your thoughts on that, because I felt like I kind of started to really believe in that, and that like making sure to take that personal time to do different things, expose yourself to different experiences, and still have, you know, fun. Rather than just constantly grinding was a pretty big part of why he's been able to be so consistently dominant.
I think so as well. I mean, and if we look on the other side, ShoWTimE also a player that has put a lot of emphasis into exercising and to make sure that he's keeping fit, that he's running, right? Like Serral is actually the player that, if I'm not mistaken, carries a yoga mat in his backpack to tournaments, right? So
really?
I believe so. I could be mistaken, but I think I've seen the roll in behind his backpack at last BlizzCon. So, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing that you definitely wanna mix in, right? To just be kind of overall healthy. We had some players complaining about the format, for example, and how, you know, like they were approaching it and they were getting overburned, and then there was people like say the MAGA arguing, hey, maybe don't overdo it, and maybe that's the better thing to do here, right?
Yeah, maybe the trick is, if you feel like you're stressing too much over it, maybe it's time to go take a golf session, Mr. Drogo. Who knows? Yeah, find something that isn't StarCraft to kind of distract yourself, that you can still have, you know, some
clean air,
passion,
you know, like,
for.
Yeah, oxygen. I mean, like, just, you know, like clean air and breathing. It's so overlooked because we do it by default, but if we're putting effort into it, it really makes a difference. It'll, you know, you're cycling with your environment. That's really a good thing to do. So yeah, I think some of the best players have a pretty healthy mindset these days.
Yeah, you are what you put in. Applies to more than just food, you know. It shapes the things that we do in the ways we spend our time shape who we are, even outside of stuff like work. So those adepts get the drone denial on the third, delaying that a fair bit. We've got the lair halfway done though, as that Oracle sharks its way across the map. He's going to build a second one behind it too, Cats. And this Spore, I think, is he going to have just enough time to get a few hits? I think at least on the Geyser drones, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, ShoWTimE is so very good with the Oracle Micro. He's probably going to get a couple of drones and get out. Or?
Oh, doesn't want to chance it.
Yeah, I guess the Spore is really perfectly positioned. If we look at that Spore for a second, it's not right in the middle, right? It's exactly where you want it. So if it was one hex up, which is where I put it, to be completely honest, the Oracle can poke in much easier. So, you know, if the Oracle came from the other side, it would be a poorly positioned Spore, but the Oracle can come from the other side, and Serral knows that. So just every little detail. Yeah.
I think that's another one of the fun parts about when new seasons and stuff start. Although we've had a little bit of time now playing on these maps, but the ability to adapt and kind of recognize where each of these maps are going to offer those windows of opportunity, not just for yourself, but also your opponent. Serral is never caught off guard by anything. Like, nothing surprises the guy. You're like,
And
oh,
I'm
this
sure
I
it
know
does
this
in
cool
practice,
spot.
but not again, right? Like it's
Yeah.
I mean, he'll get surprised once. I mean, I did that build that surprised him, and then the next game he had a brilliant counter.
He already figured it out.
Yeah, and it wasn't. I mean, I didn't figure it out. Like he just figured it out within a game. He's so good.
It's like in the back of his own mind, he can run all of those AI simulations where once he sees it, once, he can just simulate it again in his head a million times until he's like perfectly calculated it within the span of one game, like you just said. That's what makes him so terrifying.
Yeah, when you see Serral, it's the meme with where the geometry starts popping in front of him. You know, like the geometry and the numbers.
Exactly. And he's got a couple lings outside towards that third base again. The Oracles are going to get recalled, and he's just kind of dancing around here. We've got the Hydras coming out. Hydralisk speed. Does this feel a little bit early? He's not going to try to attack him at some point soon, is he, Cats? Is he going to bring the heat here?
I doubt it. I mean, he has a decent number of units, not committing with the links. The links are really useless here against the Oracles as well, but I mean, he did make a lot of units. Here come the Hydras.
Yeah, he doesn't have range, though. This is a bit ballsy. Yeah. Okay, well, I mean, if he misses the force fields, I guess it won't matter, but he can't shoot over those force fields very effectively. We do have the shield battery there, and the Oracle is also on top to help defend against this. Quite an interesting attack out of Serral, if I'm being honest. He's going to focus on the overcharged battery, but he doesn't even kill it.
Yeah, Serral making a crucial misstep. They're not finishing the battery. Has to go back in and finish it there. But yeah, this was kind of a weird attack, honestly. I mean, he even sniped the Oracle that was full energy, and I thought, okay, maybe now? But I mean, we looked at it, and it just didn't look like a thing that could work.
It felt like a pretty uncharacteristic mistake of Serral. I'm going to be honest. That was a very odd attack. Now Hydralisk range is done. Most of the time, you can't do those pushes because you can only have one of the two upgrades. And that's exactly why you can't do those pushes because, yeah, Hydras without the upgrades, I mean, they just kind of suck. Especially with a couple of sentries to keep them away. You know, you don't have creep spread or anything like that either. But, oh well, a pretty good spot then for ShoWTimE to start off this match. Weird day of games is going to continue.
Yeah, I mean, and to speak of Serral's attempt here, if we look at the third of ShoWTimE, it is pretty wide open. Look at the amount of buildings that he is now situating. So Serral probably thinks I can take a fight out in the open and your sentries are going to be useless. And they were, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, even with that open space wasn't quite enough. And ShoWTimE's really locking that base down. He recognizes the vulnerability of the position. He's got multiple photon cannons there now, as well as several shield batteries. And I think he used the second shield battery to actually restore the shields of the overcharged shield battery, just so that Serral couldn't focus it down, which was just so...
Is that what actually happened, or is it that Serral focusing down?
That's what I saw. I might have misjudged it, but I've got the stream up on my other screen, so I'll try to look at it in the delay and see if it happens during that fight again.
All right, let me know. And we have a little bit of a move out here by ShoWTimE, but it looks like it's just mostly to clear the grounds and establish a fourth base very early on par with Serral. He's ahead in supply. He has decent army size, though he is not really taking up to... Okay, there's the storm. Cancels the storm. So are we going to see an attack then?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty difficult to stop, I feel like, right? He's got a lot of units with this. Yeah. And
aimings are... Go on.
I saw the battery go, but I don't think it was onto the other battery. Okay, that would have been too cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Use the shield battery to save the super shield battery.
That's what I thought he was doing, but I think it wasn't done, right? The other shield battery? Or
it was healing something, but it didn't look like it was pointing right at the other battery, you know, because it's kind of like a laser beam.
Yeah. All right. So
Bane speed finishing up is going to make this a little bit better.
Yeah, this is bad for ShoWTimE, but he will realize in time to at least mitigate the damage by... Oh, actually, only 2 Banelings end up getting through.
Not bad. Save your whole mineral line for, what, a cannon or a shield battery, was it, that he basically lost there? Staying alive.
Nice counterattack here, too. There is some Banelings available, and I mean, Serral is pulling back his army, so very nice blocks there from his mineral line on either side of the hatchery, making it impossible for the Zealots to really get to where they want to be, and it ends up being a good trade for Serral.
Yeah, the wall off he did with those Evo chambers in the between the geyser and the hatch on this map, that's actually really sick. I love that.
Yeah, the guys, the wall-offs on the Evo chambers, certs have started doing it, but it's really a thing that has always been possible between the gas and the mineral line. So it's really good against harassment, especially against Hellions. But hey, making it work against Zealots as well. Serral is just that good.
And now he's building up that really terrifying army. And Storm is only just now started, so there is going to be a window of vulnerability for this force. And I mean, and the way that I see it, if you get enough High Templar, if he's got 8 High Templar with 2 storms each, it's going to be very hard to just crack him with the Ling, Hydro Ling Bane, but he doesn't have it quite yet.
Yeah, a lot of Banes spent there. I wouldn't mind ShoWTimE just pulling back and healing those Archons and Immortals with the shield batteries. This Archon gets forgotten, but will be remembered in time.
And did try to poke that 4th base with the Ling Bane. Only got 2 probes again. There's those Evo Chamber walls as the Zealots try to break the North base. But he wraps the Queen in a dress of drones and makes the Zealot AI bug out a little bit. They are going to be able to eventually get through, but now the Lings have returned to save the Queen. All these cute little micro tricks. I'd love to see it. Serral never misses an opportunity to be efficient with his units when possible. And hey, exactly. ShoWTimE, I mean, both players are about even supply, and it's not like Serral's banking a whole lot. ShoWTimE has a lot of things going well for him. He's getting that High Templar count up, and Cats, he has survived to Storm.
He really has. So that's good. I mean, I think he would have liked to Storm earlier, but I think he was planning for a counterattack, ends up being attacked instead. But determines I've traded well enough with those Banelings that I can maybe just chill till Storm. I like it. I like his position quite a bit, actually.
Yeah. Anytime I'm seeing a Zerg player on the same number of bases as a Protoss, I'm thinking that something must have gone wrong. This map can be a little bit tricky with regards to that, but just the fact that Serral hasn't been able to find his foothold, or his footing, excuse me, on the harassment side, +2 melee is still, I mean, it feels relatively late in terms of being able to do something with like Baneling harass on those expansions, and he's constantly having to run up to deal with the Zealots that are counterattacking. At Prism becomes a question mark, but with this many storms, like, is he just going to try and go for the sickest 360-degree surround of all time on this army?
I don't know. It's going to be really hard. There's not any force fields, at least, but so many Archons to tank up these Baneling shots. It's looking pretty difficult for Serral. Their storms are going to be huge if they land. A couple of them just defensively to back away. I mean, there's not a lot of whole damage taken by ShoWTimE.
Hey, Zealot counter. He got the Baneling nest. Okay, so he actually can't make Banelings for a little bit. That happened on the north side, I think, while he was pushing here with some of those extra lots. That is a bit awkward. He still has 37 Banelings, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, and this is where I start getting a little bit worried for ShoWTimE. If he's not able to find anything, if he's okay just with some Banelings exploding onto his army and backing away, he's giving Serral a lot of room to breathe. But I mean, I think that he would be confident to do this against any other Zerg. I'm just scared whenever I see Serral moving further into the game.
Yes. Yeah, it feels like the longer you're playing a game against Serral, the more opportunities you're giving yourself to make mistakes where he can get ahead of you, because he doesn't make that many mistakes.
He just doesn't.
Look at that pre-split on the right side too, below the ramp. He's waiting for him to push up on that base so he can sandwich him.
He's going for it. Let's see if it's enough. The Storm is lagging a little bit behind, but I mean, so many Archons. This is going to be enough. Most of them will fall, and this is an amazing trade for Serral. My God, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. Another counterattack on the other side of the map. Storms will land, but not enough.
Dude, the amount of gas release from 20 Archons just blowing up like that, the whole planet is now warming up over here. Cats, he's destroyed an insanely valuable army. He's getting that hive tech up now. And, well, Serral, I mean, he's got his economy together. He's got his larva. That's what Zerg does. He rebuilds super fast. And ShoWTimE's big, expensive army, well, it's going to take a little while before he can rev up for another push like that.
Yeah, he is taking a 5th base now, and I like it, but I mean, he is definitely far behind from that, and he doesn't really have a much better transition either, whereas Serral is now going onto a hive, so whatever push he comes up with next is only going to face a higher complexity from the Finnish player, and that's, that's worse.
Yeah. Yeah, this one Hydra starts to tap at this Nexus, and the rest of his buddies are going to come over to clear out this expansion. The army's not really here for ShoWTimE. So I think he should be able to grab this one and pull back. He's not going to try and defend this one. That Prism on the northwest, I think, just pulled back too. I don't know if it's a Prism actually. Yeah, he's been trying to make something happen there, but I think the Hydras are about to clear it out.
Yeah, Serral just knows where he doesn't have vision. That's where the Prism is. I mean, we've seen the last Prism scouted and spotted in the same exact way. He sees the Zealot counterattack, and then he's like, okay, where are those coming from? Well, it must be from that one spot, and he just sends his units there.
Oh. And a big Baneling hit on that base, kills 7 probes. Of course, we're into that one-shotting probes territory, I believe, as that shield battery overcharge comes to an end. And man, ShoWTimE really likes his Archons, huh? Big fan.
I guess he really does. The thing with Archons is they're cool and they're awesome and they can soak up a lot of Baneling shots. But I mean, at some point, they just clump up enough that the Banelings are fine anyway. Kind of what we were talking about with the Thors last game or last series or a few series ago, even at this point.
Yeah, if you're connecting with half the Archons with every Baneling, then it's really not that cost ineffective. But you see how he kind of separates those Archons. He wants them to both soak those hits. Yeah. But I do believe he still got the cooldown on his overcharge for the pylon or for the battery, so it does not matter in terms of the defense here. His army is just a little bit too spread out, still getting battered and beaten down on that side.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't the worst trade though. Wasn't the worst trade ever for ShoWTimE, right? Like we see like how Banelings can get soaked into those units. Like it wasn't a good trade, but he barely had anything there and he held.
Yeah, I agree with you on that part. And then I look at the supply and the resources and I'm like, it's still really hard to justify losing anything right now for ShoWTimE. But he's got a lot of Archons, got a lot of Storm here. And then I think, honestly, there's really not a lot of Zealots here. So even if the Archons could kill all the Banelings, I'm not sure they could actually fight against everything else that's here. And he only needs like 2 or 3 of the Banes to reach those.
Here he comes. That one Archon will spot Serral, but this base is super. No, I guess not. Serral is actually going to back away for the time being, maybe looking for a better angle. And some of these Storms hitting the Banelings for free. That's kind of exactly what ShoWTimE would need if he's gonna have a chance at fighting this army. So many Banelings.
His split force defended the West expansion, so ShoWTimE is slowly but surely making his way over 160 supply. The problem is, this is a Zerg army that gets better with age, cats. It's going to continue to grow and get tier 3 upgrades. Stuff like Adrenal Glands is going to have a huge impact, and there's just so many Banelings that are going to crash between the buildings and, of course, those shield batteries in the Nexus.
Yeah, the Nexus will be focused down, so the Banelings don't really care to die as long as they're dying near units or even buildings, as we see here. And now ShoWTimE reset back to 3 bases with still a strong army and decent supply, but not looking too hot.
Yeah, this is going to be... I mean, it's only going to get more difficult, right? Like, think about what he definitely can't do. He's going to get another massive surround coming in here as he's morphing that Greater Spire, and the Archons and the Storms have cleared out most of the eastern flank. Good Storm's going to land on the Hydras. He doesn't have the creep spread in position there. Like I said, cats, he's got to worry. There is a timer that is going to be put on this game as he gets into the Broodlords. If he can't afford to make a transition into something that can either kill him before he reaches critical mass of Broodlords or, the tech to counter it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was a really good engagement from ShoWTimE. His High Templar movement was very, very good, storming and running away thereafter, right? Knowing which units he needs to save and what's crucial there. So he ends up getting a good trade again, but good trades are not good enough right now.
No, they are not. Those units are just so powerful and cost effective now. Like the difference that Adrenal Glands makes in these types of situations is fantastic too. Just kind of eats a few Banelings in there, trying to takes a pull on the slot, you could say, with those Banelings.
Yes, indeed. Oh my God, let's see. I mean, ShoWTimE needs an amazing trade, but it's becoming less and less likely. A lot of Archons still available. At least there's no flank on the side of Serral, so it looks like this base will go down uncontested for the time being. Now Serral coming in with some Hydra Bane, just allowing the Banelings to trickle in. And now ShoWTimE is gonna look at those Banelings morphing.
The number of Banelings in this game is disgusting. Oh my goodness. He's got 40 Banes now and 66 lanes. He's gonna go back over 100 Zerglings and have 40 Banes. And now I'm just wondering if he's gonna try and just kill him with like a mass Baneling push at this point. ShoWTimE he's weathered quite a storm, but now the money is starting to run out. Now he's losing his base, and now the Lynx are making their way into his base, and that is not going to make things easier, Cats.
Yeah, Sentry was warped in, but he maybe thought that he was on a tight wall there, so looked elsewhere. Serral finding the opening, however, is going to get inside the base. This Lynx will die, but it buys Serral a lot of space on the map where he has positioned this army aggressively and will look to potentially pounce. But yeah, Serral's very patient with these.
He's got such a force. He's going to add another 20 Banelings. He's ready. He's willing to fight in this choke so that some of the Lynx can buy time for the other Zerglings to kill those probes, and barely saves that hatchery. It was actually getting to the point of almost being killed.
Yeah, one more hit, I think, would have done it.
Yeah, that's a solid save. Hashtag just Serral things. And now he's starting to take the bases on the side of ShoWTimE as well. He's taking that west side expansion. ShoWTimE's a hopeful 6th or 7th base, really.
Yeah, ShoWTimE done a good job of establishing that 5th, however, and trying to deny the other base of Serral. That's been heavily contested over here. There is no creep, but my god, those are a lot of it. What do you do against that?
He's got 60 Banelings. Yeah, he's gonna have to storm all of them at the same time. I don't know. I don't know what you do. I don't know if he makes that many Banes and spreads them, if he even can storm all of them.
At this point, do you add sentries and just make sure you don't walk over the force shields with your Archons? I don't know.
I don't know. If you had 10 Colossi, could they one-shot this? Could they clear through that? I don't even know. I have no idea. Corruptors are finally coming out.
Disruptors would be kind of sexy.
I think Serral's realized. Oh yeah, that's actually a pretty good point. It's so hard to control though. Yeah, that's gotta be frustrating. Engaging into this army must be like, just the thought of it must be like like.
Yeah.
Oh, this little
all of your army has to be ready to die. Like they know they're gonna die.
Oh, it's painful. Nice. He recalls to the east side, but he can't.
A lot of Banelings actually falling there. Oh, all right. I like this, Nate. It's a pretty nice push in from ShoWTimE. He has been doing what he can. Banelings would struggle to trade against this small numbers of Archons effectively. I think they're gonna go for it regardless. Maybe no.
He's building 7 Broodlords, so I think he's realized, he's like, okay, well, this is definitely the moment to chill for a second, get those units out. As powerful and beefy as Archons are, they only have 3 range versus the 10 of those Broodlords, which is going to complicate things. And these Hydras and Banes kind of pushing around off the creep. There's really not too much of a reason to engage into the High Templar, though. So I really like that his focus has just been denying the expansions, and he's just eating the map. He's eaten almost the whole entire map at this point. And more Zerglings on the counter.
It can be so difficult to transition. This is really nice counter as per usual. Oh, he's going to get in again.
Yeah, he gets a little softs around too. It's just amazing. Like, he tries to warp units into block and he still gets through. Like, everything Raynor does just always works for some weird reason. Or, excuse me, Serral. Now I'm confusing the two of them.
They're good at run bys.
Well, here's the Broodlords, by the way, against Archons. In case anybody wanted to see it. I guess if the High Templar are allowed to walk up to them, they can get them too.
Oof. 2 of them will pay for the sins of the Archons here, having no range. So, yeah, I mean, from this position, it's so difficult. I'm not sure. There's nothing in production from ShoWTimE, so I'm not sure that he knows either. Blink Stalkers, I think, is going to be the call. But that is a very difficult thing to make work.
He's trying to stick the kill on the hatch, and he's getting very close, but 58 health remaining, and that is a sad way to lose a good portion of your forces. He's gonna blink over and send just the whole army to the west side and maybe try to carve out some sort of base tree, but he doesn't have the money. He's broke. Those bottom right bases, that's it. His main's mined out, the natural's mined out, the third is basically mined out. He's just got that bottom right expansion.
You can't fight that army, so like, what can you do, right? Like, you just gotta move around the map, hope that maybe you can engage the army without the Broodlords on retreat. This is pretty much the dream for ShoWTimE. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Right? It's you can't ask for anything at this point, I think.
It started out as a dream, and then Freddy Krueger showed up, and everything just got awkward real quick after that. The Hydras and the Banes are not really that scared of the Stalkers, so as soon as he's able to do anything about the number of High Templar, if he's able to catch those or separate them or get the storms out, this army's going to be able to bowl through a lot of what ShoWTimE has. And Serral's got so much money in the bank, it doesn't matter. He gets the surround, wins the fight, and the GG is called. ShoWTimE, solid start, but taking it to the late game against Serral is not something that I would advise anybody to do. Pretty much.
Yeah,
anybody.
it just came down to that. I think that he had a really strong start, ShoWTimE, and he put himself in a position where we were wondering if Serral could even muster enough units to push back his army. But I mean, of course he could, somehow, some way, and he makes it happen. 360s around.
Is well done. Well done. The next map is going to be Eternal Empire, which we talk about. Pretty good defensive map. Maybe ShoWTimE uses the easier 3-base setup to like propel himself onto like a big 3-base all in or something like that. And it feels terrible for me to try and say that because I'm like, I just don't know that there's a late game strategy that you're going to be able to pull off against Serral that's going to work. But anybody can pull off against Serral, that would work.
Yeah, I mean that last game started as well as it could have for ShoWTimE with a failed attack from Serral, which is not something that we see often, right? It wasn't a huge commitment, but it was a commitment for sure, and it backfired. On this base, I doubt Serral's gonna try anything like that. So he's not gonna necessarily be clawing his way back in from a failed attack. It's gonna be harder.
Yeah, that's also important to remind everybody of as well. I'd almost forgotten. He just kind of threw away. He just kind of threw all of his Hydras and a bunch of Lings at ShoWTimE's third before he had upgrades. A little bit of a head scratcher, but we're loading in now to game number 2. And so far, the series going in the way of the former world champion. We are ready to kick this one off, cats.
Oh.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. And spawning in the top right-hand side of the map, it is Serral.
And spawning in the bottom left, the blue Protoss, his opponent, he is ShoWTimE.
That is a feels bad map if you're ShoWTimE, right? Like it's so difficult to play against a player after you feel like you had the advantage that you wanted.
Yeah.
And then you lose. It's just so demoralizing.
Yeah, and because it's also just a reminder that, it's not like Serral is a weird player. He's just that good. You're like, I got into one of the best possible positions, at least for that point in the game that I could have been in against somebody this good. And he wasn't able to really capitalize on it in a meaningful way. And that's, frustrating. It has to be. The probe is going to go in, sees the hatch is there, and there's just, what is ShoWTimE going to do? That's what the story of the rest of this series is going to be. I think Serral's expectation will probably be to play this one out normal. Maybe if he goes up 2-0, we see him throwing a cheese. Getting cheesed by Serral is like the ultimate honor / diss, where he's like, I'm done playing with you. It's the Toy Story meme where he just drops Woody. He's like, I don't want to play with you anymore.
Oh. It's something like that, but this time around he's playing pretty normal. ShoWTimE also not blocking the hatchery like we saw last game. It's a pretty large map, so it's a further commitment, and I think with a 15 hatch you can pretty much guarantee it every time on this map. So ShoWTimE not even attempting for it, and I mean, this is what you want if you're Serral too.
He's gonna get 4 Lings, get his queens out. Nothing really outside the ordinary here, and as the Cybernetics core finishes, it's now time to see what is ShoWTimE going to do. What will the choice be? Quick Stargater. We're gonna have the Twilight Council, Robo, something that doesn't make any sense, and it's going to be that Stargate play. So you can of course always take a little bit of map control with Phoenix. Could just be straight into Oracle, could be multiple Oracles. We had a really popular style, right? The 3 Oracle style, I think last year. I think it was Zest or someone that popularized it, right? It was a thing.
One of them Zest or Stats. I want to say Stats. I'm not sure.
Oh, it might have been Stats. Yeah, I might be mistaking him with Stats.
Yeah, I mean, I think most likely we're gonna see Phoenix because the Overlord hasn't been accounted for with a Stalker. So as soon as the Adepts show in, the Overlord is free to, or show up, the Overlord is free to go in because there's not a Stalker. So it will always spot the Stargate, and that makes it so that Phoenix is more likely than Oracle. But no, it's gonna be an Oracle.
All right. Well, the Overlord will see that, regardless of whatever it was going to be. The Stargate is scouted pretty quickly, and I mean, most of the time, Zerg players, it's not unusual to just see them throw down the spores blindly if they don't see anything. So I would be very surprised if Serral ended up really taking much damage from this, but At the very least, the nice thing about Oracles versus Zerg especially is they just have a lot of utility later on. If he wants to take his third base and Serral tries to Ling Flood, if there's a random 5 Hydralisk attack, the Oracle also helped with that last game too. So I don't think I ever really dislike Oracle openings from Protoss. Like good Protoss players always get value out of their Oracles.
Yeah, but that's a heavy burden to put on the German wall when you're up against Serral. Can you really reliably get damage with an Oracle that has been spotted? It's so difficult. And the second one, maybe. Oh, very nice. That's a pickoff on the Spore potentially, but no, there's 2 queens here. Oh, it still gets the cancel at least.
And it's like 0. It's like a 0 millisecond delay between the hatch being the Spore being canceled and rebuilding. There's no window of opportunity to try and kill that drone. He's just so on top of it.
He really is. So it's a difficult position. Serral's spreading the creep outwards, and there is that a third Oracle or a second Oracle now that we see on the show? Yeah, 3 Oracles on the side of ShoWTimE. So you brought this up. It's what we are gonna see, and that gives the Oracles a lot of potential to be microed and to kill stuff in spite of Spore Crawlers. So he has to find a place with a low amount of queens. If you can find a place with just 1 queen and a Spore, dive on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of damage that you can get done with that, and
oh god,
it gives you a pretty amazing anchor as well. But we have 2 queens and a Spore in basically every base except for the main, which is 2 Spores.
Yep, it's the place that ShoWTimE chooses to go. So of course Serral was ready. Before ShoWTimE made his decision, Serral had already decided that was the most vulnerable base. Now ShoWTimE is gonna go to the natural and get what he can. But I mean, the setup on each base is just flawless.
Yeah, no, that's disgusting. Like if you're ShoWTimE, you go by each base and you're just like, oh my god, what the hell do I do against this guy?
I mean, he's just perfect, right? Like when ShoWTimE pushes out, Serral is 5 drones behind, but he has everything that he needs. He has the links to deal with the adepts at a perfect number, right? Like maybe 2 more than you need, like if the adepts micro not at all, so perfect. And then he's ready at every possible base for triple Oracle, where he's gonna take very little damage. Just a couple of drones for 3 Oracles is definitely not what you want. And then with that, he will establish his economy, take his fourth once he's made the room.
Now he does boot up a Spire as he gets that +1. He's going to get Roach speed, so we're going to see maybe a little bit more aggressiveness coming out of him, unless he thinks he's just needs it to defend what's coming next. But I feel like we've got a little bit of wind up left for a big push that could come out of ShoWTimE, maybe. He does have the Prism. Oh, the fake Prism. Yeah.
Love it. Love that fake Prism. It's going to get spotted also by the Watchtower, so ShoWTimE being very careless with his fake Prism. It's very fake, that Prism is my point, you know?
Yeah. He's like, is this a Roddy Prism? I'm not, like, is this what people are trying to do to beat me now? And that one is going to pull back.
Through the Watchtowers that he gave up?
Yeah, 1 queen. 1 queen, because guess what? It's not a real Prism. So yeah, while you could fly a Prism over 1 queen, Hallucination's just not really going to do it.
Indeed. And the Spire is, I think, a very good decision also after 3 Oracles. Oftentimes you're done with that with that Stargate. So I think Muta Surprise could be really, really strong on the side of Serral, and he's banking the gas for it.
Yeah, we've got the Roach speed upgrade finishing now too. So he has access to a lot of the tech that he needs in this game. We do actually also have that Spire as well. So that option is going to be there for Serral if he decides that he's fed up with all of these prisms and fake prisms and
I'm surprised
real
we haven't
prisms.
Seen the Mutas.
Go Mutas.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen them yet. I think he's just banking up until he can get a bunch of them at once. So not a perfectly timed Spire this time around, but I think this is a pretty good call. So I think we'll see like 10 or 11 at once.
Yeah, this has been extremely difficult. I mean, at the very least, we haven't really seen the harassment go back on the ShoWTimE side, right? That's the benefit of this map, is that he can do this without really putting himself at too much risk. But there's those 12 Mutalisks on the way. So we are going to see him use that tech, Paolo, and we'll have to see if ShoWTimE's got what it takes to deal with it, because everything that he was planning is about to get thrown off kilter. The amount of stuff that people usually have to do to defend against Mutas in PvZ, and when you get blindsided by them, is usually really hard to recover from.
Yeah, and ShoWTimE has taken some blind precautions, but perhaps that's giving him a sense of full security because, of course, he has so little anti-air. But he says, you know what? I'm gonna put a cannon at each base. I opened with a Stargate. Unlikely that Serral goes Muta, but Serral's gonna keep him honest, and this might just be a game. He has like no. This is fantastic. Oh my god, those Archons need to be recalled right now to the natural base. Otherwise, they're gonna be in a whole lot of trouble. But can they even? Maybe there's no energy, and these Mutas are just gonna do a lot of damage for free here. Nice moves.
Yeah, his recall was actually on cooldown, Cat, so he couldn't bring his units home, and those Mutalisks not only caused a nice bit of damage now to start, but as they move in and push those probes away, he's going to see he's trying to get a Phoenix out. And we do know that the Phoenix, of course, is one of those units that can play ball with the Mutas, but at this point, building a bunch of Phoenix is not really what you want to be doing.
Definitely not. I mean, is there Baneling speed on the way for Serral? I don't think there is, right? So that's the one saving grace for this push from ShoWTimE. Oh no, there is Baneling speed. My bad.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, he's got the Bane speed. You know, I will say, Serral showed a little bit too much respect to this army. I wonder if his Mutas passed by the Templar Archives at any point. He actually didn't have Storm for the entirety of the beginning of that push, so he could have maybe dove on that. ShoWTimE was kind of moving his High Templar forward, like, hey, I'm going to storm you, even though he didn't have it. So that did give him something, but not much.
Yeah. The Mutas have continued to stay on the other side of the map and find damage. They have been picking off cannons, shield batteries, and whatever defense is set up ShoWTimE has. ShoWTimE's army has been deflected on the other side and forced back onto his side of the map, where he's going to have to just kind of clear these Mutas out and reestablish an economy. Phoenix now being produced.
Yeah, well, this is just where things start to snowball, though. Now he's going to get the Hive. He's going to get the rest of his upgrades. He's having a difficult time, actually, a little bit with that Phoenix. It's almost dead. I need to just at least fly it over a battery. And mind you, he actually did have that Cyber Core destroyed. I'm just remembering now as the new one finishes, he couldn't even build Stalkers for a while.
All right.
He's going to kill them as they're building. He doesn't care.
Jeez, and that's the best way to kill them. I mean, yeah, it's best because they don't have the full HP at that point, but there's a huge engagement happening here. Serral is so cautious, so as soon as the wall runs to his wall, Serral's just gonna back off.
Oh, there you go. The Phoenix are dead now. So the Mutalisks can continue to frolic and play. Blink is not yet ready, but he's just gonna stick it, I guess. He doesn't really mind so much anymore, losing a bunch of them as he's done the damage they kind of need to do. And a lot of Banelings are going into the natural.
Yeah, that could be nasty. 7 probes falling. Let's look at the natural. If did anything else fall? Not really. Mutas on the other side. Oh, there we go. 13 now. Probes falling. The +2 attack not yet done on the side of Serral. Almost done, actually. So maybe could have waited, but at the same time, you know, the Mutas were dying, and that's the space that they created for those things.
Yeah. Oh, this has been brutal. StarCraft never looks more unfair than when I watch Serral play.
It's
disgusting.
Something else.
It's disgusting how good Serral is. He's you can tell he's a little bit pissed from losing one of those series in the group stage.
Yeah, he really is. He's not giving his opponents any room, and he doesn't seem to care about the Baneling nerf at all either in this matchup. He's making so many of those.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you nerfed the damage a little bit? Okay, well, I'll just build a few more then. No big deal. You can come at me, bruh. And he built even more Mutas, too. How about that?
I see. How about that? We'll pick up 1 Templar, maybe more. Oh no.
Oh my god, he's almost gotten he got all the Templar that were there with that army. There's still 2 that he had with the other force that had moved out, but he just, oh my god, he just took away all the power. I mean, he just took the battery out of the car.
Yeah, these Mutas are already happy. I see the Mutas. I'm kind of questioning them, honestly, because remake Muta, you just lost them, right? And your opponent is now better set up for them for sure. But yeah, I mean,
he's gonna have 65 Banes. No Storm. Okay, well, there are more Art Templar, but not as many Storms. And they're actually gonna roll through the Storms and still hit the base.
That's what he's going after. Just clear the base, if nothing else. Any units extra is collateral damage, but at this point, Serral is looking to trade, remax, defend, and win. Yeah.
Absolutely disgusting domination here by Serral, just laying the ultimate beat down. 18 probes dead. He's actually only just now going to be getting his attack upgrade, his first one for those Roaches and Ravagers, so they're going to get even more fierce than they were before. and he's just cranking out Lings and Banes. How is he ever going to attack Serral?
It's so difficult. He put so much emphasis into that Ling Bane and very little actually in the backbone, right? Like usually when he was making Hydras, it wasn't that many Roaches, Ravagers, not that many really. I mean, this is a pretty measly number of Ravagers, but it is the backbone that stays alive when he trades his entire army. He's doing so good, and he continues to trade over and over too.
Yeah, he's taken all of the bases that he's normally supposed to take now. He's gotten the gold gas base too. This Oracle's going to come try to microwave some of the Zerglings, but good. Oh my God, there's just so much stuff. He has so many units everywhere. He's going to start biling down the rocks in this gateway. He's going to open that path back up to the natural in the main, uses the Banes. He doesn't care. Big storms are going to drop, but he doesn't need to be cost effective anymore because he just has so much stuff. And that really was about the most effective way of killing those Banelings he could have ever done.
That was pretty cost inefficient if you're Serral, but I don't think you care at this point. You're remaxed already. And he just took more bases. Yeah, it's not like ShoWTimE gets a counterattack opportunity or anything like that here.
Yeah, no, he's all he did by killing those Banelings was buy himself like another minute to live before Serral tries to drive the knife in again.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he's gonna do. I think he recognizes obviously that his economy is just monstrous compared to ShoWTimE. He smells blood, and he's gonna continue to pile on the aggression until ShoWTimE dies, I think.
Yeah, well, this almost hurts to watch a little bit, really. Like ShoWTimE is a fantastic player, and we all know that. But Serral makes people. Serral embarrasses people. Is probably the best way to put it, with how well he controls and does stuff. Sometimes
he really does.
Sometimes I forget how good Serral is, and then I watch him play, and I'm like, yeah. Serral. Little counterattack, though. He's finally able to do something on the other side of the map. I think he killed a drone, too. He got 2 drones.
Nice.
Yeah. True. Not bad, but still.
Oh, God, look at this. At some point, do you just GG if you look at that army and your ShoWTimE?
I feel like for most players on the ladder, like if they're at 120 supply and they see that, they just you don't even GG. You unplug your computer and you just leave. You go out of town for the weekend. Oh my God, look at this. Is just disgusting. Oh, I'm gonna be sick.
And those are cost-efficient storms, to say the least. Oh, if the Templars no, those Banelings sacrifice themselves to prevent the chase. Technically, that's something, yeah.
He doesn't still have an answer for the Broodlords that are going to be coming out. He's got some Blink Stalkers, but blinking under Broodlords when your opponent has still 23 Banelings, that might be a little bit of a risk.
I would say so. I would tend to agree there. His army complexity is just not there, right? There's 3 Archons, and that's the best unit he has.
But it's the same thing as game 1.
As soon as it gets dropped, the links go up.
Yeah, it's the same thing as game 1. He survived, but like eventually Serral's like, okay, now I'm going to build a level of tech that you just don't have the economy to deal with anymore.
Hey, that was decent from ShoWTimE, actually, tucking away a lot of his army, and Serral overconfidently using his Banes. Not gonna matter, but that was one of the better traits in the game.
As it ends, GG Serral going up 2-0, and I got nothing left to say, dude. I have absolutely no idea what ShoWTimE could possibly do now. Serral has just looked. I feel like we're looking at like the prime Serral again, like just the absolute like, oh, I'm gonna show up to DreamHack and I'm just gonna absolutely destroy everybody, go collect my first place check, and go back to golfing or whatever it is he does in his spare time.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's a harsh feeling if you're ShoWTimE in this position, right? That was not a pretty game. You managed to do 1 counterattack, like be on his side of the map like once, and it wasn't. I mean, you killed 2 drones with it. It doesn't feel good. The first game you had it in your hands, it slipped, and now heading into a 3rd map, you just have to be feeling near hopeless. But of course, mental strength of these players much better than mine. So maybe ShoWTimE can withhold and bring his A game here.
Yeah. So level with me here. I mean, is this the moment where you try to go for not necessarily like your best build, but like a momentum resetter build? Like, is this where you pull out some sort of desperation, like 2 base or 1.5 base all in or cheese, and just hope to kind of reset like where everybody's headspace is at. I don't know. I don't know that trying to play a straight up macro game after the way that the last two have gone is going to be like the proper way to get back into this series.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And I feel like even if you try something, it's not unlikely that Serral will try something himself on this map. I think that we could see him pull an early pull, even though the map is kind of large. There is also like the opportunity for that gold. I mean, Serral not known for these things necessarily all the time, but he can definitely mix in aggression and be unexpected. And this is the perfect position for him to do it as well.
Yeah, we golden wall. If there's a weird meme map in the pool, this is it. And in the bottom right, our blue Protoss player who needs to win 3 games in a row against the best player possibly in the world. He's ShoWTimE.
And on the left-hand side, not going for any shenanigans just yet, it is Serral.
That was a really good track for Serral. I was going to say, I think for introing him, we just got to get the rights to like the boss fight music from like Doom or something is what we need. Just the most impossibly hardcore, heavy rock, metal, whatever you classify that as, because that's basically what it's like. And hey, ShoWTimE's mining out the minerals leading down to the other path, cats.
Yeah, so he's going to wall himself off in the main, as we can see by his gateway position, and he can completely wall himself off. I would love to see him try something like Stargates, but like you mentioned, Nate, it's very easy to mine those 2 mineral patches in the middle of the map if you're Serral and catch wind of this, and then try to do something aggressive onto this now natural expansion of ShoWTimE.
Yeah, I definitely like this, if only for the fact that it is unusual, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that we know to be a big standard, and it's possible that if he expands in this direction, he could have a really good staging ground right outside of Serral's base where there's that choke point he could possibly use to try and get some work done.
Yeah, there's also the fact that Circ players don't really scout that much with drones, almost ever in CVP. So Serral's gonna go and position his overlord onto an empty natural, then have to fly potentially into the main. If ShoWTimE has maybe thought this through, maybe he can get a stalker or something like that in time. And look at this, it also serves for the proxy starport, to which Serral cannot get to without mining the middle. So I love proxies mining the middle of the map, but ShoWTimE's commitment to mine the back is much safer for this proxy. It's never gonna get spotted. It's brilliant. I love it. This is it.
It has the potential to set him up for a really, really gnarly follow-up. So we're gonna have to wait and see how much more he wants to commit with that. I do like that he's trying to get the stalker out here to check if there's an overlord in this low middle area. But that is going to be, is that going to be the big reveal too? Or do you think Serral's kind of already sniffed it out?
I think Serral knows. I mean, that's why we see the overlord here. So it's just a matter of ShoWTimE finding that overlord. Serral right now, notice his flight pattern is near these areas where he can actually go to a high ground as well, right? Like if the stalker showed up here, he could have ran over to that high ground. So not directly going in a straight line to that base, but rather going there somewhat safely. Still the stalker in a good position to take care of this overlord now. But he will get some spotting, and here's the oracle. If this doesn't work, Nate, I'm going to be pissed.
This is it. This is his big moment. Now that second queen that's by the edge of the main base is not too far off. So let's see what this first oracle is going to be able to accomplish. The overlord is not going to see it on its way in. The entire time, for the most part, undetected. This is your chance, ShoWTimE. Get some serious damage in.
Let's go. All right. And let's see what he can accomplish. A couple of drones going down already. Like you mentioned, that queen in a neutral position will be quick to reinforce. And actually, just 3 drones. Ooh. Not the best, but does save the oracle, and that's a good start.
If he had lost the oracle there, I think that's where I'm starting to get real sad, cats. And he's gonna put the gate here. Oh, I see, because he wants to be able to warp in on the other side to harass. I actually kind of like that. You know,
brilliant. I didn't see it. That's so smart. Yeah, I like it.
The side effect of that too, cats, he now has to mine out the minerals in his main base to go down there and open another attack path to himself if he wants to go to the bottom part of the map now. Because with that pylon there and that gateway there, he should always have vision of the minerals in case Serral tried to open it.
Yeah, you make an adept or sell it on the other side and prevent it. So it looks pretty good. I think you're completely right. And this is going to allow him to keep tabs also on this area of the map, which completely secures the bottom side of his map. I love this strategy and everything about it from ShoWTimE, right? Like, these oracles are poking consistently in the area where they want to be poking, and these adepts might be unspotted. He's doing so many cool things in this game.
He's pulling out all the stops. This is going to be one of those types of strategies that we're going to talk about maybe years from now, where we're like, man, when we had weird maps like Golden Wall, although typically we've been trending towards more weird maps every season.
Not this one. I think we took a step back here a little bit.
A little bit this map, but there's still some other stuff that came up in like the last TL contest, I think, that had some interesting shenanigans in it. But
oh yeah, I mean the previous map pool was pretty daring, right, with Golden Wall and
yeah, that's true. I guess relatively this is actually a lot more tame, but the fact that we even have a map like Golden Wall in the pool, I think, is like crazy to think about.
I love
3
it.
years ago.
It's one of my favorite maps to watch and to play, quite honestly. And this is a great attack from ShoWTimE, Nate.
Yeah, the Adepts have Resonating Glaives now, so they're going to be able to absolutely beat the heck out of these Queens. The Oracle assisting. He wants every smidge of DPS that he can get with this Shades back over. And the Oracle does go down, but Cats, I think everybody who's ever played StarCraft knows that the Adept's biggest strength is going to be that reposition ability. But Serral walling off his own natural. He's trying to limit where the action is going to take place.
But that's perfectly okay if you're ShoWTimE. That just means that that Serral is giving up this third. And as long as he does that, ShoWTimE doesn't need to worry about anything. And he's not really super actively committing to this. Behind it, he's making Immortals. Actually, he's still making Adepts, which I'm not sure how I feel about. I guess he wants to finish it. Can't blame him for that. So he will break through. Actually, this looks very, very good for the German now.
Yeah, he doesn't want to give the opportunity for Serral to come back and for the Hydra to grow 2 more heads where one was cut off. And 30 drones plus have fallen now. The rest of them are basically stuck over towards that main base mineral line. I was going to say, I felt like I agreed with you that ShoWTimE had a big opportunity to try and transition, because a third base here would be very hard to attack for all of the reasons that we discussed in regards to like getting through the mineral line, actually getting to that part of the map. But he's got Immortals and Sentries added onto this, and that Warp Prism that's going to be coming across behind it will make this very difficult.
Yeah, Serral just made a round of drones. I mean, maybe as you should. I love this from ShoWTimE. Single G from
I love that. Also, shout out the Observer pointing out that ShoWTimE actually mined that wall open a little bit to get the rest of his forces through. Guys, we're going to jump to a quick break. When we return, the conclusion of Serral versus ShoWTimE. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are live again, going into game number 4 here on Ice and Chrome between Serral and ShoWTimE. Cats, I mean, ShoWTimE, we were talking about it during the break. It's kind of like a pulling out all the stops type strategy that's only going to work on that map. Is that it? Was that it? Was that his shuriken he had kind of hidden under his belt that no one noticed?
That was awesome. I mean, I don't know what to say. That was an amazing game from him. Every little thing that he did was so consistent with itself, right? Like the oracles providing vision, being able to be as proxied as close to his opponent as possible without almost any chance of him scouting it, right? And then the oracles to prevent mining those minerals made him completely safe. The gateway with the pylon in the middle, I mean, that's just too next level for me. Anyhow, spawning in the bottom left-hand side, talk about next level. He is the nexus level. It is Encest Serral.
And his opponent in the northeast, the blue Protoss player, he is ShoWTimE.
Yeah, I don't know how he outdoes himself from that strategically. Just absolutely beautiful game from him.
Oh my God.
Oh my boy.
I'm so glad I'm casting with Cats for this part. All right, take it away. What the hell's going on, man?
It's a hatch first here, so it's quite a commitment. I wouldn't mind ShoWTimE pulling a few probes. I think this is perfect so far from ShoWTimE. Honestly, as a reaction, I absolutely love this. Oh no, don't pull back the probes. Okay, I don't love this as much, but I guess he just doesn't feel like he needs to take the Nexus right now. So he's gonna Chrono Boost the Zealot. He's gonna go on 2 gateways, and he's gonna deal with this hatchery kind of slowly. The problem is, if Serral is okay finishing this hatchery and getting stuff out of it, that could get a little bit dangerous. I mean, on the other side, he is mining gas ever so slowly. I'm not sure what Serral's planning, to be honest.
Do you think, I mean, I guess since we can see, it's not like he got a crazy fast pull since it was the hatch first in his opponent's base. Is this one of those situations where like this hatchery was hoping to force more of a reaction and he just didn't get it out of him?
No, I think this hatchery still has to come into play. I think Serral needs to make units and try to capitalize. I mean, you can't just cancel this, I think. So yeah, he's gonna try to capitalize off of it. So it's not yet done doing damage. This is why I like the small reaction from ShoWTimE to pull just like the 3 probes. Because in order to not let the hatchery finish, you need to kill a lot more than that. But if you just pull 3 probes and they're attacking the entire way, say no queen will ever get out, no more than 2 links will get out, and then it's kind of a wasted investment. So the hatch first as a block, I personally don't like it. I thought we'd see something crazy from Serral here, but I think it's just a disadvantage at this point.
So he was just trying to summon a little bit of like some dark Zerg magic or something of that sort, but it's not going to do too much. At the very least, he has greatly delayed ShoWTimE's Nexus, since it's going to take a little bit of time for that creep to go away. And then, of course, he's going to use the larva there, which is going to be nice. He's at least building an Overlord inside his opponent's base he can use to scout.
Yeah, and he's going for the triple hatch now. I mean, these 2 adepts are going to be annoying, but Serral was very diligent in getting that very early link speed. I mean, the one thing for Serral is if you look at the drone count right now, he's at 18 against ShoWTimE's 25, right? So that's the first thing that I look at when I look at Serral's setup, and I'm like, wow, he really is somehow almost ready for all of this, right? So so if he's gonna do that, I think ShoWTimE can just Chrono Boost probes and chill. Yeah,
it's an Oracle coming out. He did start the Nexus up. All of this gets scouted, by the way. The Overlords are there on both of the bases. These adepts, though, trying to take advantage of the fact that the bases are so separated, and running the drones away like that can always be a little bit odd, too, because you have to consider that the adepts do threaten with that shade. Wow. But he tucks himself into a pretty nice spot here, unfortunately.
It's actually a pretty bad spot, I would say, Nate. I mean, that's, there's the minerals that he could have used instead. So that was a lot of surface area, actually, to give Serral. He could have traded a little bit more cost efficiently on the side of ShoWTimE, or a lot, maybe.
Yeah, I guess he could have gone between. It wasn't quite between the mineral patches there, losing multiple of the adepts. He is going to get some drone kills, and I think at this point, the only thing I'm really keeping in mind, you pointed out the worker count difference. ShoWTimE is not you know, he's doing a decent enough damage to keep that probe lead, despite the fact that he's only able to build one at a time. And then with that second Nexus, it's actually going to be possibly a little bit tricky for Serral to get too much further ahead of him economically. He's going to need to crank out a couple rounds of drones for sure.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how Serral is going to do after such a weird opening, because he has to be somewhat uncomfortable too with the timings, I imagine. I've never seen him do something like that before. So I don't know that he's super comfortable, but you know, as you figure it out and as you go, this is kind of the type of game where both players get to really adapt on the fly and really need to actively think about what's going on, because it doesn't feel like a normal game.
Yeah, and we have 5 gates being added too with that robotics facility, and now a 6th extra gateway. So, I mean, I feel like we're about to see a warp prism boot up out of that robo, and then, I mean, he doesn't have upgrades, right? Like, there's no resonating glaives or anything, so he's just going to try and make it work with I can only assume a bunch of regular adepts.
Yeah, and loses an oracle, but I quite like the idea here. I'm not sure if you want to poke again. Come on, man. Chill. But I quite like the idea of these oracles going for drones, because that's going to force Serral to make more drones, right? And that's the last thing that Serral wants to do against the attack that ShoWTimE is planning. So I really like what ShoWTimE is doing here. I'm not sure that Serral's going to be able to be ready for it.
Yeah, this game has gotten really weird. And you know what? I'm thinking back to that, just the question about the last game, about doing like a momentum resetting build, and seeing a little bit more confidence out of the movements that ShoWTimE is making again now, because he's reminding himself, it's like, yeah, I can do this. I just got to execute my build order, execute my strategy. I can pull this off. We've got a lot of lings on the way. We have spines being added, an extra spore crawler even over there. And these are going to try to lock down the position. It is just regular old gate units, but he does have a lot of forces to work with over here. And that prism with 7 gateways behind it is going to be quite hard to stop. 8 gateways, excuse me.
Lord, indeed, beautiful sniping off the structures there from ShoWTimE, so that the Oracle can come in and so that the Spine doesn't do all the damage that it needs to do. I mean, Lynx are going to be pretty bad at taking this, and I'm quite honestly really not seeing how Serral's going to hold this, but it is Serral, so never count him out. Good force fields on the side of ShoWTimE.
Yeah, he's done a good job of pinching the queens back over towards the top side. But at the same time, Serral landing some solid transfuses, getting the links to the backside where the zealots are not, but there's still plenty of units there. And yeah, like you said, that Oracle helping to melt those lings. Is ShoWTimE actually going to be able to even things out here? The Spine Crawler tried to reposition, but those take forever to move. And it's just a handful of roaches against 8 gates, pounding and pushing over towards the natural. And well, once that roach horn goes down too, he's not going to be able to build a whole lot else to help him against 8 gateways of zealot warp-ins.
It's ShoWTimE, baby. And I gotta say, I love this, right? Capitalizing on the weird opening, knowing that his opponent would be low on economy, especially to have that link speed so early as he did, to be ready for those adepts. ShoWTimE not overcommitting, showing great patience, and then just leaning in on his advantage. Basically saying, you're gonna be droning up. You need to drone up.
I love it. Bringing out the Huck special. The old 8 gate never fails to impress. GG, ShoWTimE has tied things up.
So,
oh man,
I mean, that hatchery just didn't do anything for Serral, let's be honest here, right?
No.
Yeah, like if you have like a roach, like sometimes like a roach burrow component can be pretty punishing from that position if ShoWTimE like doesn't scout you. And maybe you can get like roaches with burrow out of that hatchery, because if you're only gonna get like 1 or 2 larvae out of use, it's just definitely not worth it. So I think the proxy hatchery is not necessarily bad against Protoss, Nate, but I think you usually want to drop like a second hatchery or commit to it in some way, shape, or form. Say with some sort of follow-up links that are showing up as your hatchery is finishing or something of the sort.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see a more committed type of aggression out of Serral. I think is a really good point. Not really able to do a whole lot with that, tragically. And now we're going into Everdream, fairly even-ish map, I would say, to decide this one for game number 5. And we somehow actually did manage to get to the point where this is going to be 3-2, no matter what, cats.
Yeah, surprisingly so. I mean, I think Serral has looked like the much stronger player overall, but ShoWTimE has managed to capitalize twice now on openings that he has shown. Serral, that is, so anyone's game at this point. I would still favor Serral, obviously, but oh man, well, that would be an upset.
Yeah, no, that's this whole series. Like I said, the only reason why I thought this could go to game 5 is because we've just had so many weird, insane matches today. But after how demoralizing those first 2 games were, I was certain that Serral was just going to be like, "Yep, all right, I'm ready to end this," you know. But ShoWTimE reached up and he caught that fist in his hand and said, "No, not today." And it's all going to come down to one last map on Everdream. We are loading in, and I'm very excited to see who's going to come out on top. This has been a slugfest of a series.
Yeah, it really has been, and we're loading onto the last map of it. And spawning in the bottom right-hand side of the map, or left-hand side of the map, it is ShoWTimE!
And his opponent in the Northeast, the Red Zerg player, former world champion, he is Serral.
Good stuff, good stuff.
Yeah.
Broodwar drones, I think. Pretty good skin.
Yeah, I think the classic worker skins look awesome. You know, I honestly, you know, all normal balance jokes aside, don't you think it was a little bit unfair that Terran got the classic base skin and everybody else has to like wait for all the other phases? That's I honestly looked at all the previews, and you know, like we have some really smart nerds in StarCraft who just use the map editor, and you can actually place all of those skins there anyway and just see what they look like in the engine when they're actually running. And I gotta tell you, the classic Nexus and classic Hatchery, I think, are gonna look a lot cooler.
Really?
For some reason, I just don't like the classic Command Center look. And like the Planetary Fortress, yeah. you can't really tell the PF's a PF. It doesn't even like really look like a PF. It just looks weird.
Yeah, but, it would shoot like rust. Like it would be like rusty and it would like not work, the PF. Yeah.
Exactly.
But that's kind of good, I guess, right? Because then people might underestimate it.
Yeah, no, actually, I think one of the first times I saw was like a clip from, I think it was Lambo's stream I was watching, and he was saying he tried to like do a run by on a Terran and wasn't sure if it was like command centers he had just finished, because the Terran built like 4 of them, but then he tried to run the Lings past and then it just killed like half the Lings. And he's like, oh
no.
I guess it's a PF.
Yeah, the PF is not very PF-like.
No. Anyway, I'm excited to see those classic skins because I think they look really cool. But the workers are all awesome. They're a lot smaller model-wise. They look a lot smaller, especially the SCVs.
We'll have to check them out as they come. And Serral is checking out this probe, so it'll be shooed away so that he can take his very early normal third. Nothing out of the ordinary in this particular game. There is a Stargate, which has been the staple for ShoWTimE in this series. And normally he goes straight into the Oracle. So that's what we should do.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind if he mixed it up a little bit. It's crazy to think about the presence of Serral after those first 2 games. He went into game 3 like, okay, he's got to do something insane. It's got to be wild. It's got to be bonkers. And then game number 4, we're like, well, he certainly can't do that build on any other map. But yet here we are. And ShoWTimE he's actually gonna mix it up a little bit more. Cats, he's not done. He's not going to go quietly into that cold night. He's going to fight and go for a different strategy with this Phoenix into Oracle, which could go still many different ways.
Yeah, he really wanted that Zergling, but it's gonna go back to blocking his ramp right away. So it's that Serral paranoia, man. You got 2 adepts, it don't matter, just stay back. And the Phoenix will finally clear the Overlord, and Oracle will be seen in production. So Serral knows what he needs to know. Here's where I would drop a second. Did he? Did he almost drop a second? Oh my god! Oh, there it is.
Okay, yeah, he did it. He was going to build it, and then he went to build the gateway, and I'm like, no, build a second Stargate, and then he did.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, we were all thinking it. I think we willed him, Nate. I thought this is where I would love a second Stargate and just go Phoenix. You know, just go something crazy. Just go something that Serral doesn't expect.
I went out of my way to not say double Stargate because I was very scared that I would curse myself and he wouldn't do it. But
it's such a great
now we've gone full circle. The only thing we need at some point in this game now is Dark Templar, and then I'll be pretty happy.
Yeah, I think that what ShoWTimE is most likely gonna look to do here is deny information as best as he can, make a lot of Phoenix, and then move out and catch Serral off guard. I think if he's able to do that, we could see a really strong start to the game for the German.
Yeah, this is it's an opportunity, right? He's tried something twice that just really didn't work in those first 2 maps, and now he has managed to find himself in a situation where he has Serral kind of looking around, being more on the cautious side than he is, and this has definitely been a really, really good, I'm going to say it again, just a momentum reset. He's got quite a few adepts here too. How many lings are there? 15 against 7 adepts with the support of 5 queens. But if he decides to bring the Phoenix over at some point soon, if he gets something done, then one of the adepts almost does go down over there as they shade back and away. But I feel like if he could have hit with some adepts like that before there were roaches and maybe show the Phoenix then, that would have been gnarly. But he does want to wait for more.
Well, I think actually, Nate, that this is perfect for ShoWTimE because he shows the adepts. The shade is very cautious, and it shows his plan is to keep them alive, and that's his priority because the brunt of his attack, of his power, doesn't come from these guys. It comes from the Phoenix when they are revealed. So, oh man, this should not be happening. What?
Oh goodness. Okay. Oh. Well, now he sees the Phoenix. Now he knows. I'm pretty sure he just ran right underneath. And even though there were a good number of roaches made, those there's 3 queens now being made as well. Those adepts, hard to be in a worse spot than there. But hey, if he could soar the queens, though,
ShoWTimE, hello?
Yeah, there's quite a few overlords here he could grab as well if he could take the queens.
Yeah, I feel like he could have taken the queens, but not after losing 1 Phoenix and now giving Serral the option to attack the Phoenix first before engaging again. So now the Phoenix are going to go into the main and pick off whatever they can. This is still a decent reveal. And this is exactly what I mean, Nate. Like, these roaches are kind of useless, right? Like, now he has to counterattack. I do not like one bit that the adepts were wasted. I didn't even like the follow-up, like 3 adepts after the first 6. I thought the first 6 did everything right, and then it's all about the Phoenix.
This scout, though, the Nidus, he just clicked on it. Okay, so as soon as the Phoenix showed up to Serral's base, he immediately started the Nidus network. And it's very important to, if he can kill the queens, to kill them here before there's a million units inside of his base. And then he also possibly has the opportunity to bring those Phoenix back and kind of deny the vision from it being a Nidus inside of one of his expansions. But it's going to get dropped outside that 3rd base. And the roaches and lings are here, cats. How is he going to be able to stop this onslaught?
Not with Phoenix. I mean, at this point, you probably want something like start producing Void Rays. There is a Robo on the way, so that's going to be helpful. And actually, a lot of the units will go down before the queens can even make their way out. So ShoWTimE just waiting for those queens, but he's not lifting them up. Serral unloads many of them at the same time. 1 roach is picked up by mistake from ShoWTimE. That is not the unit you want to focus. So now he gets back to focusing the queens. Doesn't grab the perfect ones, but close enough. None of them have energy for another transfuse. The roaches are still alive, but this Phoenix will again eventually get the cleanup, at least on the queen backbone.
Yeah, but there's only so much energy for them. Those queens are actually making it happen, cats. GG